Word happiness would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Carl Jung. Sadness flies away on the wings of time. Jean de La Fontaine. Behind every sweet smile, there is a bitter sadness that no one can ever see and feel. Tupac Shakur. Tears are words the heart can't express, Gerard Way. The greatest happiness you can have is knowing that you do not necessarily require happiness. William Saroyan. The walls we build around us to keep sadness out also keeps out the joy. Jim Rohn. The good life is not one immune to sadness but one in which suffering contributes to our development. Alain de Botton. When you're happy, you enjoy the music. When you're sad, you understand the lyrics. Frank Ocean. Sadness is but a wall between two gardens. Khalil Gibran. The way sadness works is one of the strange riddles of the world. Lemony Snicket. The deeper the sadness carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Khalil Gibran. People keep telling me that life goes on, but to me, that's the saddest part. Unknown. Experiencing sadness and anger can make you feel more creative, and by being creative, you can get beyond your pain or negativity. Yoko Ono. I didn't want to admit it. It was easier to lie. Hide the hurt and emptiness to smile instead of cry. Unknown. Sadness is a super important thing not to be ashamed about but to include in our lives. One of the bigger reasons it's worth doing is because it lets us be happy. John Green. There is no greater sorrow than to recall in misery the time when we were happy. Dante Alighieri. You cannot protect yourself from sadness without protecting yourself from happiness. Jonathan Safran Foer. Every man has his secret sorrows which the world knows not, and oftentimes we call a man cold when he is only sad. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Sometimes, when one person is missing, the whole world seems depopulated. Alphonse de Lamartine. You can close your eyes to things you don't want to see, but you can't close your heart to things you don't want to feel. Johnny Depp. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. Unknown. Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. Rumi. I am not okay, but I will be. Unknown. It's sad when someone you know becomes someone you knew. Henry Rollins. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Haruki Murakami. In this sad world of ours, sorrow comes to all, and it often comes with bitter agony. Perfect relief is not possible except with time. You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better. But this is not true. You are sure to be happy again. Knowing this, truly believing it, will make you less miserable now. Abraham Lincoln. Life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating. Oh, Henry. One thing you can't hide, is when you're crippled inside. John Lennon. The greatest gift you can give someone is the space to be his or herself, without the threat of you leaving. Unknown. The saddest summary of a life contains 3 descriptions: could have, might have, and should have. Louis E. Boone. Every man wants to be happy, but in order to be so, he needs first to understand what happiness is. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The heart was made to be broken. Oscar Wilde. It's sad when someone you love becomes someone you loved. Unknown. The only way to avoid being miserable is not to have enough leisure to wonder whether you are happy or not. George Bernard Shaw. Sometimes it takes sadness to know happiness, noise to appreciate silence, and absence to value presence. Unknown. The most painful goodbyes are the ones that are never said and never explained. Unknown. There is no such thing as a broken family. Family is family, and is not determined by marriage certificates, divorce papers, and adoption documents. Families are made in the heart. C. Joybell. C. The word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Carl Jung. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. Khalil Gibran. The sadness will last forever. Vincent van Gogh. It's sad to know I'm done. But looking back, I've got a lot of great memories. Bonnie Blair. The longer and more carefully we look at a funny story, the sadder it becomes. Nikolai Gogol. Every time you thought you couldn't keep moving forward, you did. Take a moment to appreciate your strength. Karen Salmonson. It is a time when one's spirit is subdued and sad, one knows not why, when the past seems a storm-swept desolation, life a vanity and a burden, and the future but a way to death. Mark Twain. Nobody really cares if you're miserable, so you might as well be happy. Cynthia Nelms. When you're lost in those woods, it sometimes takes you a while to realize that you are lost. For the longest time, you can convince yourself that you've just wandered off the path, that you'll find your way back to the trailhead any moment now. Then night falls again and again, and you still have no idea where you are, and it's time to admit that you have bewildered yourself so far off the path that you don't even know from which direction the sun rises anymore. Elizabeth Gilbert. The good times of today are the sad thoughts of tomorrow. Bob Marley. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them, that only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Lao Tzu. Sometimes you laugh because you've got no more room for crying. Terry Pratchett. The greater your capacity to love, the greater your capacity to feel the pain. Jennifer Aniston.